what kind of challenges or limitations exist when we're putting together a market forecasting model, for sure. What are some reliable resources, data sources we can use? And how do we account for growth prospects or opportunities? So we'll get right into it. Taxonomy. Why do I say taxonomy? Market sizing does not necessarily solicit that word in our minds or elicit that word in our minds when we are thinking about market sizing. We usually think numbers. But bear with me. Taxonomy is the branch of science concerned with classification of organisms and systems. And you don't really need to see what's written there, but just kind of to notice how that triangle, that inverted triangle on the right, goes from broadest to most specific. And that is a concept applicable in market sizing as well. It provides the building blocks of a market sizing and forecasting exercise. It's kind of like the skeleton on which we hang all our numbers and put together all our assumptions. And it frames the risk, right? What are our parameters? It frames the task, I'm sorry. It avoids double counting. This is huge. You may not think of it right now, but defining everything, putting everything in its place, can prevent double counting and therefore skewing your market size down the road. It keeps things consistent, organized. Everybody can kind of understand and track what's being said down the road. And it serves as that backbone skeleton or framework for the exercise. Here's another view of taxonomy. The taxonomy, the grouping of what it is we're counting. It can be as simple or as detailed as we want it to be. So an example here is classification of animals. You know, if you were using that as an example, you can separate the animal kingdom into vertebrates and invertebrates, and then further break those down into more detailed categories. So you're capturing each one. And regardless of what the names of the animals are, you'll see that each of them are featured once in one category, and each of them is spelled out. So you know who fits where, you know who is where they fit, and you're not double counting any of the animals, which would skew your size. Here's another example of the use of taxonomy. Now, on the left, you've got a simple straw man. You've got the main category, your domain, and then the three subcategories. It can be as simple as that, perhaps, for your market size, depending on what it is you're counting or you're trying to estimate. Or it can be a lot more different, like the one on the right. Chances are we're not going to get that to that level of detail, but I have seen plenty of market sizing and forecasting models that really have a lot of detail. And that is when you need all of that taxonomy to be very clear, very crisp, and very well defined. So that's a little bit about our introduction. Some guidelines that I'd like to share. I think about those as maybe some best practices for you. And really it's about getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, as mentioned. What we're going to be dealing with is incomplete and sometimes unavailable data. Right. So I think you already knew that, but it's important to acknowledge that there are going to be some limitations to what we're working with, and we have to kind of find some alternatives, some workarounds. Second is to identify reliable, valid, and relevant third-party data. Third is identify and use some proxy data and triangulation. This is really fun. This is really the art. And third, study competitors and investors. Consider factors affecting your demand and create multiple scenarios. Let's take a little closer look at each of these. Get comfortable working with incomplete and sometimes unavailable data. So what that means is the exact number does not exist. It's not written anywhere. It's not in anybody's computers or notes or folders or filed in cabinets. What we're looking for is an 80-20. Right? If you can get about 80% of the market size, if you can get some amount of data for the 80%-ish of the market, you're there. Don't worry about chasing down the remaining 20%.